Yeah, it didn't really shock me because we looked at other documents where Kaylee told multiple friends and acquaintances that she was being stalked, Ashley, that she was being stalked and that she was concerned about it. And she even told a story that came up in several witness interviews that we've already reviewed, that she went outside with her dog, that her dog was out there, she was letting him pee, and she saw in the distance a shadowy figure. And this happened on more than one occasion, but the last one being about a month before the murder. So we've all been wondering if that wasn't Bryan Kohberger out there in the backyard watching her and planning and plotting, because that is the entrance. He came in through the backyard through a sliding glass door. So the fact that we're hearing from the surviving roommate that he mentioned her name kind of tracks with the multiple accounts of Kaylee talking about having a stalker. And I think that was pretty fascinating to me.
And, you know, you think back, now the house has been torn down, but before it was so scrutinized. This is the front of the house. These forensic investigators all went through the basement door, but on the third floor at the back of the house, that's where Maddie's and Kaylee's rooms existed, and they had windows facing the back. And if you go up around the left side of the house there where that long, big, tall tree is, you can actually peer into their windows. So you're right. When they made these reports that there was something out in the bushes that the dog Murphy kept running to, those would be the back bushes. And when they said they saw a figure back there, that would be in the back bushes facing right into Kaylee's window and, of course, Maddie's window as well. Okay, let's talk about this this incredible series of reports that police were able to interview and get this information out of the Washington State University colleagues and professors of Bryan Kohberger. Not only did they say that he absolutely had to dominate every single conversation, dominate to a point where people didn't want to be around him, but that he humiliated some of the female students. And there was an account where one of them was humiliated by him in the classroom and had to leave in tears.
Yeah, you know what? The only thing that all of his colleagues and his classmates seem to agree on is that they all disliked him intensely. You heard different things. I mean, some said that physically he was overwhelming. He would stand too close, that when you tried to get away, he continued talking. One of the professors said she was walking to her car and he followed her. She began to get an escort. She asked for an escort to get to her car one night. I mean, there was just a way of domination physically that is apparent in all of these different colleagues and other students talking about him. It also sounds as if he did a lot of what they called mansplaining. I mean, he was talking to one of the other students at a barbecue that happened before before classes had started at Washington University, and she was relaying what her research was, and then he proceeded to teach her and tell her what her actual research was and explain it to her. And at that point, she decided that that's it. She's not going to have much to do with him. The number of complaints that were filed by students is up to, one of the people that dealt with complaints said in these documents, 13 complaints filed. And it wasn't just the female students who found him abhorrent. It was also his supervising professor, or a professor that said to him, that said that he would come at the end of the day, he would not disengage. And this is something that the women said too, that even when you said, I can't talk now, it's too late on a Friday, I need to leave, he followed and he kept talking. And they actually got into a bit of a yelling match about it. So it sounds like, from all that we're reading here, that he was universally disliked. And at some points, it became very threatening for some of the female students.
They all said as well that it was so palpable as a group what it was like to be around him and how much as a group they did not want to be around him and disliked his mannerisms and, like you said, his mansplaining. He even mansplained to men. Like you said, he would tell people about their work or their research or their courses. But there was something that they decided to do as a group, and that was, let's count the number of times this guy shows up late for the female professors' classes versus the number of times he shows up late for his male professors' classes. What were the results?
Well, the results were that he showed up quite a bit late it was way more. He never showed up late for the men. He was always late for the woman professor, and she actually called him out on it. And he got very awkward. And she said, "Oh, you're on time." You know, the one time that he actually showed up on time. The other thing too that you notice with the female students is they also talk about the staring. And one of the students, or I believe it was one of the students, described it as trying to be like dominating and to control, like to stare at someone, because he had a weird stare. And it's something that we've all remarked on watching him in court, seeing him in person, that he just would continue to like stare at people. And it was very unsettling. I mean, we know what he did, so it adds to that. But even before that, people were remarking on the stare.
And of course, you could look at a lot of very odd people who stare, and the first thing that crosses your mind is not, I wonder if they're quadruple murderers. Always in retrospect, it means so much more. But this next piece really rattled me today, Allison. When I read it, I read every word of this professor when she said that she believed this man could become a predator if they continued to teach him and if they continued on the path to giving him his PhD, because he was so bright. There was nothing they could do about it. They would have to give him that PhD. But she feared that he would be a predator to his future students, not to mention maybe anybody else in his path. This I just want to read it again because it's just so jarring. Kohberger is smart enough that in 4 years, we will have to give him a PhD. Mark my word. I work with predators. If we give him a PhD, that's the guy that in many years, when he's a professor, we will hear is harassing, stalking, and sexually abusing. They actually started discussing, Allison, a way to put the brakes on this process and to stop him from becoming a PhD. What did they talk about? What were they able to do?
Well, they were able to stop his funding. I mean, and he was being paid to be a teacher's assistant. They were able to stop that. I think a lot of how they managed to stop it too was because he had gotten into a yelling match with his supervising professor. And I think that it wasn't just the women saying things about his behavior, but also the men. I have to tell you, it's pretty shocking, but you have to give, props to this professor that she was good enough, I guess, in this is what she taught in criminology, to understand that there was something wrong with this guy. I mean, 13 complaints is a lot of complaints. And these complaints, one male student said he was going to make a complaint, but he didn't because they weren't anonymous. So these complaints had names attached to them. And the professor at one point actually notes during one of the conversations that tells the police that there are 2 students that the police could talk to about Kohberger. This is, after the murders, and talk about how he behaved in class. So I think that as a group, they came to find out a way, like if you don't pay him, they were not going to pay him for being a teaching assistant, and he was fired, and then there were appeals on that. And we did report on this. This kind of leaked out early in the investigation. But we never heard that there was actually a professor who recognized the threat that was inherent in Bryan Kohberger. She recognized it, and she wanted to stop it before he was in a position of real power over a lot of female students.
Well, and just in retrospect, I call it the crimson tide of red flags, that this guy would, in her estimation, become a predator. My God, I wonder what she thinks now, knowing that it wouldn't be but months and he would be the ultimate predator, not just somebody who assaults or stalks, but somebody who slaughters 4 innocent kids while they're sleeping.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.